You guys come to AMC theaters, what movie you want to see? You want to see a Pedro Pascal movie? You want to see a Pedro Pascal movie? Or do you want to see a Pedro Pascal movie?
From getting fired as a waiter 10 times to becoming the internet's favorite daddy, Pedro Pascal's journey to the top of Hollywood is anything but ordinary. He went from struggling actor in the background of TV crime shows to leading two of the biggest shows on streaming, The Mandalorian and The Last of Us. Now, he's about to suit up as Mr. Fantastic in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But how did he get here? How did Pedro Pascal go from nearly giving up to being called the face of modern masculinity? Let's rewind. Pedro Pascal was born in Santiago, Chile, in 1975. Just a few months after he was born, his family fled the country during the political unrest under dictator Augusto Pinochet. They were granted asylum in Denmark and eventually moved to the United States, where Pedro was raised between Texas and California. From a young age, Pedro was drawn to the arts. He spent his teenage years swimming competitively, but acting became his true passion. He studied at the Orange County School of the Arts and later earned a degree from NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, one of the most prestigious acting programs in the country. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Pedro moved to New York City to chase his dream. He joined the Labyrinth Theater Company and threw himself into stage work, writing and directing his own plays. But it wasn't easy. He worked as a waiter to make ends meet, and admits he was fired close to 10 times. He survived off tiny paychecks and the occasional TV residual check. At one point, his close friend Sarah Paulson even had to buy him food. By his late 20s, Pedro was seriously questioning whether acting would ever work out. But he didn't give up. He kept grinding, kept auditioning, and kept acting, even when no one was watching. Pedro's early career was filled with small roles, the kind most people forget, but every actor remembers. He popped up in dozens of TV shows throughout the 2000s and early 2010s. You might have seen him in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Law and Order, CSI, NYPD Blue, Without a Trace, The Good Wife, Homeland, the list goes on. But these were mostly one-off appearances. He played everything from background cops to nameless suspects. Solid work, but nothing that changed his life. Behind the scenes, Pedro was still struggling financially. There were times he was down to just a few dollars, waiting for a check to come through. He's talked openly about the rejection he faced and how it felt like time was running out. He once said that if he didn't make it by the age of 29, he was ready to call it quits. But he didn't. Instead, he kept showing up, auditioning, performing in theater, and doing whatever he could to stay in the game. It would take more than a decade of grinding before the world finally started paying attention. Everything changed in 2014. After years of playing background characters, Pedro Pascal landed the role of a lifetime Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones. Oberyn wasn't just any side character. He was bold, charming, dangerous, and unforgettable. Pedro brought him to life with such intensity and charisma that fans instantly fell in love. Even though his time on the show was short, Oberyn's death became one of the most shocking and iconic moments in the series. Critics praised his performance, and overnight, Pedro Pascal went from that guy from TV to a breakout star. The success of Game of Thrones opened the door to bigger opportunities, and in 2015, he was cast as DEA agent Javier Pena in Netflix's Narcos. Set during the rise of Pablo Escobar and the Colombian drug wars, Narcos was gritty, intense, and incredibly popular. Pedro's performance was one of the highlights of the series, grounded, believable, and quietly powerful. Narcos ran for 3 seasons and reached a global audience. For Pedro, it was more than just another role. It was proof that he could carry a major series. These 2 shows, Game of Thrones and Narcos, transformed his career. Pedro Pascal was no longer waiting for his big break. He had arrived. With his TV success building momentum, Pedro Pascal started landing bigger roles in Hollywood films. In 2016, he co-starred with Matt Damon in The Great Wall, a massive Chinese-American fantasy film. The movie had a huge budget and international release, but it didn't quite land with critics or audiences. Despite earning over $300 million worldwide, it was considered a box office flop due to its high production costs. But Pedro wasn't slowing down. In 2017, he joined the cast of Kingsman: The Golden Circle, playing a slick, lasso-wielding American agent named Whiskey. The film was packed with action and big names, and it performed well at the box office, earning over $400 million globally. Then came The Equalizer 2 in 2018, where Pedro played opposite Denzel Washington as the main villain. It was a more serious, intense role that showed off his range, and the film was a moderate success. That same year, he had a small but memorable part in If Beale Street Could Talk, and in 2019, he starred alongside Ben Affleck and Oscar Isaac in Triple Frontier, a gritty Netflix heist movie. The film drew in tens of millions of viewers and helped solidify Pedro as a reliable, bankable actor. He also dipped into family-friendly territory with We Can Be Heroes on Netflix and took a swing at blockbuster territory again in Wonder Woman 1984, where he played the over-the-top villain Maxwell Lord. Some of these films were hits, others not so much, but one thing was clear: Pedro Pascal was becoming a familiar face in every corner of entertainment. From indie dramas to superhero flicks, he was proving he could do it all. Then came the roles that would turn Pedro Pascal into a global superstar. In 2019, he was cast as the lead in The Mandalorian, the first ever live-action Star Wars series on Disney+. As Din Djarin, a stoic bounty hunter hidden behind a helmet, Pedro managed to bring depth, emotion, and humanity to a character whose face we barely ever saw. His relationship with Grogu, or Baby Yoda, became the emotional heart of the show, and fans around the world instantly connected with it. The series was a massive hit, credited with helping launch Disney+ and reviving the Star Wars brand for a new generation. Even though he wasn't always physically in the suit, Pedro's voice performance and presence were key to the show's success. But he didn't stop there. In 2023, he took on another major role as Joel in HBO's adaptation of The Last of Us. Based on the popular video game, the series followed a hardened survivor escorting a young girl across a post-apocalyptic world. Pedro's performance was raw, emotional, and powerful. He captured Joel's pain, his toughness, and his growing bond with Ellie in a way that resonated deeply with viewers. Critics praised his work, and fans of the game called it one of the best video game adaptations ever made. The show became one of HBO's biggest hits, and Pedro earned a Screen Actors Guild Award and multiple Emmy nominations for his role. With The Mandalorian and The Last of Us, Pedro Pascal proved he wasn't just a great supporting actor, he was a true leading man. And more importantly, he was the kind of actor people trusted to carry their favorite stories. In 2024, Pedro Pascal took another massive leap. He was officially cast as Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic, in Marvel's upcoming Fantastic Four reboot. The announcement came on Valentine's Day, and it instantly lit up the internet. Some fans were thrilled. Others were surprised. A few questioned whether Pedro, at 50 years old, was the right choice to play the leader of Marvel's most iconic superhero family. Pedro later admitted that the reaction hit him harder than expected. He said he felt the pressure, not because of the criticism, but because he understands how deeply people care about these characters. Still, he embraced the role with his usual mix of humility and dedication, saying he was putting all his focus and all his heart into getting it right. Behind the scenes, it was director Matt Shakman who personally reached out to Pedro for the role. Marvel clearly believes in him, and there are even rumors that his version of Reed Richards could go on to lead the Avengers in future films. This isn't just another role. It's a major chapter in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now, Pedro Pascal isn't just part of it, he's leading it. In recent years, Pedro Pascal has become more than just a famous actor. He's become a full-blown cultural icon. Social media calls him everything from internet daddy to the most comforting man on screen. Memes, fan edits, street art, Pedro has reached a level of fame that goes beyond Hollywood. But it's not just about the roles he plays. It's how he plays them. Whether he's a masked bounty hunter, a grieving survivor, or a reluctant superhero, he's tough when he needs to be, but he's also gentle, empathetic, and emotionally available. That's why so many people, especially online, have embraced him as the face of modern masculinity. Men's Health wrote that he's more than just your average daddy, he's also a symbol of resistance against old-school machismo. Psychologists and critics have praised him for redefining what it means to be a man on screen. Someone who doesn't need to shout to be powerful. Someone who protects without controlling. Pedro Pascal's journey shows us that success doesn't always come fast or easy. He faced years of rejection, uncertainty, and struggle, but he never gave up on his dream. Now, he stands as one of Hollywood's most respected and beloved actors, proving that patience, hard work, and staying true to yourself really do pay off. And as he steps into the spotlight with Marvel's Fantastic Four, there's no telling how far his star will rise next.